Hey, Susanne.
Hey, Patrick. Hi.
Welcome to the Talking Talent podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm honored to be interviewed by you.
I know um, it's such a great honor to have you on this podcast. And the reason why is I want to just read out something that you sent me.
Okay.
And I've never done this before, but it gives sort of an insight into how special you are as a human.
Thank
You
you.
wrote, "Dear Patrick, thank you for your invitation. I honestly did not think that anyone could be interested in me or my life. To put my 55 years into words is not that easy. My life is anything but boring, balanced, or monotonous. It is and has always been intense, pulsating, not always easy, and yet associated with enormous moments of happiness. My constant credo: nothing is impossible and everything comes well. Everything can be solved. Allowing grief, showing joy and honesty is paramount, even if this is not well received in every situation." And those words, Suze, are exactly the reason why I want you on this podcast.
Thank you.
I mean, your
Yes.
life is absolutely anything but monotonous, and the person that you are is anything but boring or stagnant in any way.
That's
So
true.
that's why I wanted you to come on here. And this is what the podcast is about. It's about getting people who are so talented at what they do with great experience and a great life story, who a lot of them don't even think that their story is that worth sharing, or no one has really even asked them before about who they are and what they do and given them the chance to share that. So I want you to just have a chat with me like we normally do, and just let people listen in and sort of be inspired by the amazing woman that you are.
Yes, thank you very much. And I'll give my best, as English is not my mother tongue, and it's sometimes not so easy to express myself. But I'm sure it's going to be all right when you are on the other side of the microphone.
Ah, no problem at all. So, what are you up to these days?
Well, at the moment, I'm traveling a little bit from Stockholm to Zurich because I have one part of my family who lives in Switzerland and the other part is here in Stockholm. And I have a lot of time at the moment and trying to connect with my friends and family as far as it's possible.
Yeah, because when we look at this whole global lockdown which has taken place, I remember you were the first person to probably experience it from a European perspective, because
Yes,
I think it was maybe even before Christmas that you were posting photos of yourself from Shanghai,
yes, that's true.
and you were taking photographs of what is normally a very crazy, hustling and bustling city of Shanghai, but the streets were completely empty apart from you on your bike.
Yes, that's true because, well, I was there in December and it was more or less normal at this. I mean, normal at you could see all the people on the streets and so on. But then I went again in January,
Oh,
and at this time it was locked down already when we arrived. It was at the end of January, and it was totally like in a movie, apocalyptical. So really, no people on the streets. When you came to the hotel, they measured your temperature, and the hotel was empty. There was only the crews, and you couldn't find anything to eat. As the restaurants were closed, bars, everything. So it was really, really strange because here in Europe, we heard something about the coronavirus, but we didn't know what it really means because it's so far away, you know. Yeah. And yeah, and I came home on the 1st of February with the last flight from Shanghai to Zurich, which we made with passengers on board.
you were the last flight. You were the crew of that
Yes,
flight.
yes,
Wow.
exactly, exactly.
So you're one of the few people who still gets to travel around the world relatively freely. I mean, the rest of us are all almost stuck in our countries at this stage. So what's it like to be sort of dealing with passengers and airports and landing in different countries in the middle of this sort of pandemic which is unfolding?
I mean, I haven't been flying like a crew member for the last few months, like almost all other flight attendants, because there are not many aircrafts in the air. Most of them are freight flights, and I haven't been working actually.
Well, have you not?
No, I haven't. I was only like traveling privately to see my family, as one of my daughters is living in Zurich. And but I mean, I saw the airports and everything, and it's really just like nobody around. This is really, really strange, because normally when you are at the airport, I mean, you know, it's full of life, it's sound, it's everything, but now it's very quiet. I mean, they opened up a little bit now, especially in Zurich, but it's still very strange for me.
Yeah. And what is the difference between Stockholm and Zurich? Because I know that Stockholm has been sort of relatively as you were, but Zurich has been under the lockdown. So what is the difference between the two cities? Because most of us don't get to experience that sort of comparison.
Yes, I mean, it's the difference is that when you come to Stockholm, you don't realize really that there is a virus around, because it's like business as usual. Sometimes, of course, then you see the distance, that there are some points in the shops or so where you have to wait. But everything looks a little bit easier than in Switzerland, for example, because we had a lockdown. But then now, since more than 2 weeks, they are reopening. But step by step, it's not like that it's just business as normal. It's still... you have the social distancing. There is only 5 people allowed together. There is maximum a couple of people in a store. Here in Stockholm, I think it's not everywhere the same. Some shops you can just walk in and there's nobody at the entrance. But in Switzerland, for example, they are counting how many people are coming into the store.
And is it so strict?
Yes, it's so strict. Yeah.
Wow.
If you go grocery shopping, so there is somebody who is counting. If it's not somebody there who is counting, there is a machine, and there is red and green light which says stop or you can come in.
Wow. So there's queues outside of grocery stores?
Yes, exactly. There are queues, because otherwise you can't, if they're everybody going together, you can't hold these 2 meters distance. And that's why there's just a special amount of people allowed in a store.
Yeah. And what system do you prefer?
Well, it's not easy to say. I mean, for me, I'm not in the risk group. I can go out, and I'm not afraid like that. But when I think about my mom, I'm happy that she lives in Switzerland, because I feel more comfortable that she's not. I feel that she's more safe over there than here in Sweden.
Yeah, she's more protected just by the system.
Exactly, more protected by the system.
Yeah.
But I don't want to choose something which is better or not. So because there are so many discussions and about it.
But I think most people will be in agreement with you. If you are I think the statistics are, if you are over 70, these are the latest stats I've seen, you have a 3 to 5% chance of the virus being fatal. If you're under 60 and don't have, then it's not 2% of things being fatal. So I'm completely in agreement with, we must do everything we can to help the elderly, those who are sick, and whatever that means.
Exactly.
I think the structure should be put around them. At the same time, I think the best solution is probably a 2-tier solution, where the people who are not in risk groups can at least move around freely, but with the understanding that if they're going to do such, then they must protect those who are in risk groups, or that those people should be given special deliveries for free, or given access to go to stores through certain hours where it's only people from the risk group. and they're not exposed to people like us. But whenever you know that I flew through Zurich for New Year's. I was going to Seychelles, and I was
Exactly. I remember
happy
that. Yeah.
to fly with your amazing airline, Swiss Air. And a mad thing happened to me because on the 2nd of January, I remember at 2 o'clock in the morning, I woke up and I could not breathe. And I thought I had picked up a chest infection or something. And it was so unnecessary because we were in the Seychelles. We were just chilling by the beach and reading and, taking it easy. And for 10 days, I was destroyed. I was literally wiped out, Susanne. And I remember walking back through Zurich airport. And I usually go to the lounge, chill out, get a cup of tea, whatever. And I had, I think, 2 hours to get from the plane to the gate. And I could walk about a meter at a time before I stopped.
Yeah.
It was the worst bad flu I've ever had. And I was I was in bed for about 10 days for the most part. And then I had about another 10 days where I was about 50%. And then it was gone. And whenever March came and I looked at the symptoms for what the coronavirus was, I was like, that's what I had. But at the time, there was just there wasn't really much talk about it in Europe. So I'm happy I got it. And I'm happy to say to people, it's like a really bad flu, which is okay if you're in the not risk group. But I can definitely see how if I was more in the risk group, that would be very dangerous for me. And this is why, from my own experience, I think we should be so protective of those who are fragile, or in some sort of elderly state or unwell state. So that's my approach on it. But I think if you can, as freely as possible in a very safe and sort of common sense way, do that. But don't mess around with people's health either. Be respectful.
Exactly.
And that leads me on because that I have really got a lot of respect for people who work in services. People who work in receptions, people who work as taxi drivers, and particularly people who work as air hostesses and on air crews. I've always had the utmost respect for the people who are willing to wake up at all hours in the morning to get on a plane,
yes,
and serve us with all our needs, as most people are grumpy and tired and stupid and leave their brains at the front entrance of the airport. And you girls and boys seem to do this with the most professionalism and kindness and patience of any of the professions that's out there. And as a result, for the last few years, every time I get on an airplane, I always buy 2 boxes of chocolates.
Yeah, I saw that.
I always bring a box for the crew on the way down. And just in case I can't get a box when I'm down there, I always buy it so I can bring it for the crew on the way back. And I always take a photo with the crew or something and just take a photo and say, #be kind to air hostesses. Because these girls are working so hard for not much return. And most people are so stupid when they enter airplanes and are not using their best manners or their best approach. So you know that I'm your biggest fan, but how do you girls actually manage to do such a difficult job in such a really light and cheerful and amazing way that I'm always inspired by you?
Well, I don't know, but maybe the reason is that to be an air hostess, that was my goal, my only goal and my only dream when I was a child already. I mean, the Swiss Air was the airline for me when I was young. And I just knew everything what I'm going to do is just everything to result that I can be an air hostess. That was, it was like that. And that's maybe why I love my job since more than 30 years. And I think there is nothing better on earth
I can imagine.
than to be an air hostess.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Of course, it's not always easy. Of course, there are hard times as well. And as you said, it's not easy to work overnight, or you have the jet lag, or sometimes the passenger. And also, I think the passenger profile, it's a little bit, it's growing, that the people are unhappy or they are stressed or are not so kind. Airline business is changing, but I still love my job, and I think, yeah, it's still great to work.
What has been the biggest change that you've seen in the 30 years?
Wow, many changes. I mean, the first thing is that all the aircrafts can fly much longer and faster, because when I started, we had this kind of 2 weeks rotations. That means that we started in Zurich and 2 weeks later we came home.
No way.
Exactly, it was like that.
Wow.
And the only reason was because the aircrafts, they couldn't fly like non-stop to Hong Kong or somewhere else. You had these stopovers, and with the stopovers and everything, the time was too long for the crew to work, you know, we have these flight duty regulations. And so that's why we had these rotations. That I really say I had these golden ages because we went to Mumbai. We had a couple of days off in Mumbai. From Mumbai, we flew to Hong Kong. From Hong Kong to Seoul. From Seoul to back to Hong Kong. Always 2 days in between, and then back to Mumbai.
It was
and
really
then back
so
to
much.
Zurich. It was so much, yes.
Wow.
And we had really 14 days. Or also like in South America, Rio de Janeiro. We flew to Rio, for example. Then we had 2 days off. And then we had these turnaround flights from Rio to Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires, and back to Rio. And then this maybe 2 times. And then we had another days off, and then we flew back to Zurich.
Wow.
And now it's completely different. We can fly to Singapore 1 night, and then we have 1 night in Singapore, and the next night are we flying back home.
Wow.
Only 1 night in Singapore. So that's really something which is totally different. From 14 days to 4 days, maybe,
Yeah.
rotation. It depends where you are going.
But you really were like a rock star of this game as well. You were the youngest, what are we going to call you, super purser? Like you went from air hostess to purser to super purser, like within your 20s.
Yes, exactly. That was like that. Yeah, I was. It's kind of funny when I think about that now when I'm older. But yes, I became a Maitre de Cabine, is it called?
The Maitre?
This is the Maitre de Cabine.
Sounds romantic.
Yes, that's actually the chief purser on the aircraft on long-range flights, long-haul flights.
Yeah.
So I was the chief on a B747, for example, with 17 cabin crew members, and
17?
I was 20. Yes, cabin crew members, and I was 28 at this time, and it's at 28. And that's very funny, actually, because I think I was how could I do that? I don't know now.
Can I ask you about leadership then? Because I definitely see you and I respect you as a leader and as someone who's got a really soft and kind approach to leadership. So whenever you're seeing, of course, you must have met thousands of young girls coming through there, and some of them have stayed for 6 months and some of them have stayed for 40 years. How do you lead a team in such a difficult circumstances when you're dealing with any surprise could happen with passengers who are drinking or anything? So how do you manage a team like that so far away from home?
Oof, I mean, it's not that I just got into this without any training, We have had about 2 years leadership training. And it's when you are flying and you are a crew, you have in Zurich or whatever you are, in which airline, doesn't matter if it's Zurich or not, but you have a base and then you meet each other before a flight, the whole crew, and you have a briefing. And so you know each other after 10 minutes. It's very special to be in a crew. And I think you don't need a lot of leadership then. I mean, of course, but everybody knows what to do. And you are a team. And I think team spirit is the most important thing.
I'm recording this podcast through Anchor. And if you're considering doing a podcast and you haven't heard about Anchor, then let me tell you, it's the easiest way to do a podcast. So let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute the podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many other platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything that you need to make a podcast all in one place. Definitely check it out. Download the app now from the store.
And I don't know. I can't really tell you the answer, but
the thing is, there's a certain respect that comes with those extra stripes around your uniform as well. So I mean, people do look at you as the leader, and when things go wrong, you're then the one who steps into operation. And there's a funny thing that happened last year. I flew to Taipei on a long haul flight, and I went with the crew. And it was only then that I realized that all of these people had never met each other before. Because from a passenger perspective, I had always assumed that this was like one crew, or, which is probably like, say, 30 people, and they all jump on and off at different flights, but they all know each other quite well. But it turned out that none of them had ever met before, but there was such a level of professionalism and dignity and self-respect within the crew that they all met each other, they all had their debrief, and then they all put their smiles on and walked to the plane, 2 by 2, and they look so great and so professional as they do that. And I was amazed, and my respect then for the air hostesses and the air crew went up even higher, knowing that that's the sort of cutthroat sort of life that they're living, where they have to like leave behind kids and family and relationships and problems and walk into that airport, put their smile on, and leave everything at the front gate, and then just serve. And as you say, you could be gone for 2 weeks or whatever, 2 days.
But that's what I meant. You come together and you feel like family, because we all are professionals. We know exactly what to do, and we know why we are on the aircraft. And it's very strange, because really you don't know each other. But as soon as you work together, as you come together, then you are very close. And like if it wouldn't be the first time, if you would fly every week together. But that's not like that.
Yeah.
It's always a new crew.
Yeah. And do you see the same people how often, or just never?
Some of them never, since after there are so many flight attendants. I mean, it's not that you know each other very well. When the airline was smaller, Swissair, we knew each other a little bit better. But now I come on the aircraft, it's possible that I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Not even the pilots. It can happen.
Yeah. That's amazing that someone with your experience can walk on still and like it's all new faces.
Yes, that's true.
It's such a unique industry from that perspective. So for you to do that job, you had such a level of commitment, because you needed to know English, you had to know French, you had to know German and others. So you were willing to move to the UK to make sure you were perfect in English. You were willing to move to the French side of Switzerland and work in a hospital to get your French up. And I mean, that's the level of skills and professionalism and just desire that these air crews have just to be able to get this job. And for me, it feels like it's almost some sort of vocation. It's a role that really pulls people in and holds them, and it's something that they just want above all things else, and they're willing to do whatever's necessary to get there.
Yeah, that's true. It's maybe like that when I was young. There were not so many possibilities, weren't there? I mean, now I think that the kids or the young people, there are much more doors which are going to open when you do something. But when I was young, you had to choose something, and then you had to fight for this.
Yeah.
It's not that it was just okay. let's do it without any problem. You always had to fight, and especially when you really wanted to have something like I wanted to with Swiss Air. So it was not easy to get in there by this time.
Yeah, but it's not easy to get into any of those big European airlines or whatever, especially even today it's not easy, but back then it
Yeah.
was such an exotic, highly desired role
Yes.
that people really, I think with the age of Ryanair and these other sort of low-cost airlines, they've sort of diluted it a bit. But it's still, like, for people to work for SAS or KLM or Swiss or Lufthansa, it's still so highly desired. You know, but
Yeah.
so what you says, there's a lot more doors now. I know you've got 3 lovely daughters who are between the teenage years and 20s. And what do you see? What do you see in those girls, or the opportunities that they have that maybe wasn't so much open to you?
Yeah, I can see it, especially when I see my oldest daughter. She's turning 25. She had the possibility to travel, which what I couldn't when I was in her age, because yeah, I mean now she was just hiring a bus, VW bus, and was traveling all around South of America for more than 1 year.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So she came back now in March, and she will start studying in September. I mean, when I was in her age, my mother, she was standing there and she said, "Now you have to do something. You have to learn something. Traveling is impossible. You can't just go away because you need to earn money." So I think that's something which young people, they have more opportunities. Also with flying, I mean, it wasn't possible for us to fly when I was 25. It was too expensive, far too expensive.
And that's a strange thing, because it must. I think there's certain societies and countries that you come from, and one of them is Switzerland, where everyone just assumes that everyone is rich from Switzerland. But I mean, you didn't grow up rich at all. So how does that feel? You know, when you go around the world and people think, "Oh, they're from Swiss, they're loaded."
Yeah, that's also something. Everybody thinks we are rich. Everybody who's grown up in Switzerland is rich. I mean, the money is not growing in the backyards as well. I think it's the same all over. It's of course, it's not only the money which counts to that you say somebody is rich. There are other how do you say?
Yeah,
in
there's
English?
other
I don't know.
attributes. For me, to be wealthy is to do with money, but to be rich is to do with your soul.
Exactly.
So I grew up very, very poor in money terms, but I've always been rich in my soul.
Yes,
and being rich is an individual thing. Like a lot of the people that I meet every day are not rich at all, because they're so caught up in other things in life that they haven't really dug into their soul and who they are as a person to pull out the richness which exists in all of us. And then growing up as an Irish Catholic in Northern Ireland, of course we were all broke, so people just assumed, you know, we're broke when it comes to money terms. But a lot of the people in the area that I grew up were rich in their heart and what they stood for, and you know what they valued. So I completely agree that, and I completely understand that. Even though you had sort of a tough upbringing, or not tough, but like sort of different for the age that it was, that you've always been rich, and you always will be rich within your soul.
Yes, exactly. That's true, because I mean, this is also something, of course, what I see, that my kids have more opportunities. Like I loved music, and I had also a dream to play the piano, but we didn't have the money to buy a piano, or that I could take lessons. So what I did when I was a kid, I was drawing a piano keyboard.
Wow.
And earned myself playing the piano just without the sound, you know. Just
seriously.
Yes, that's what I did.
Wow.
And but it made me it gave me a lot of self-confidence, and I think that's something which made me more special, maybe, than when I could have learned everything just like that, without any
And so you learned to read
borders.
music yourself, and
Ye-
you put it in front of you, and then you thought, okay, this is key A, B, C, D, whatever, and you just went for it.
Yes,
I love
exactly.
that.
Yes, exactly. That's what I did. That's
I love that.
I could play the flute. This was something which which was not so was not so expensive. But my dream was actually to play the piano, but that was not possible at this time.
And I know you worked as a teacher in playing the flute. Did you make some money from that? Is that what that was for?
Yes, I made some money, a little bit.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that was.
And did you ever get to buy a piano from
No,
the money from the flute?
no, that was not possible. I didn't get so much money, but that's maybe something what I'm going to do when I'm retired. Maybe I'm going to buy a piano and play like I wanted to do when I was young or a kid.
Yeah, we should.
Who knows?
We should. Do you know? Actually, I wish I had been talking to you about this a year ago. I have a friend who's got a piano that he wants to give away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's actually. Let me check if I can get you a piano for free.
Oh, you're so kind.
Because you really deserve it.
Oh.
I'll check. I'll fix this for you. I'll find you a piano.
Thank you. But I mean, maybe I could have bought a piano as well when in the last years. I don't know, but
yeah, but let me look into it first. I think we deserve I think the world needs me to get you a piano from some source. But I know the same. I actually was in Holland a few years ago, and I heard this guy playing a hang drum.
Mm-hmm.
And I says, I'm getting one of those, whatever that is. I'm going to get it and learn it because I've never been so musical. I used to play the bugle when I was at school, but I never loved it.
No.
And so I went and said, right, I'm going to buy this hang drum. It's a new Swiss invention actually.
Okay.
And it's some new metal put in a certain way, and the sound that comes off this is just beautiful, Susanne.
Oh, really?
And so I said to Johanna, I want a hang drum. Get me one, because I never want anything. I never buy stuff, and I'm never interested in buying stuff. So when I do want it, I usually buy it. And I checked the prices, and they were like 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 euros for this one drum. And I was like, damn it, man, I do want one, but I don't know if I'm willing to make that sort of time commitment. You know, because if I'm going to spend, say, 3,000 euros on a small drum, I want to be able to put in the commitment and time as well, not just the money.
Yes.
So I don't see it sitting there and feel guilty. So I think the same as you. I'm going to get one of those, but maybe when I've got a bit more time.
Exact. Time is always the problem. That's the same. Yes.
But yeah, I'll fix that for you.
Oh, thank you.
For all the people that you have served on airplanes and been so kind to, and
I
all the
don't know
people
what
you
to
have
say
led,
now.
I will definitely hook this up, because I come across pianos from time to time and people ask me if they want one, and I'm like, no, I wish I had that problem of wanting a piano, but I'll hook it up for sure. So tell me about Ladina. How's she feeling about being back from her travels? Because I know some people can really struggle, especially those people who've been away for probably less than 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you know that exactly how she feels, most probably, because you were also traveling a lot. And I mean, this was a total other life when she was in this bus and with her boyfriend traveling around South America. And she really had trouble when she came back. But I told her that before she came. I said to her, listen, don't tell anybody or everybody that you're coming back, because they want to see you, and you need just to come back and bring back your soul also to stressful Switzerland. And but she needed time. I think about 1 month.
Yeah.
Just to settle down a little bit and to get back to this life.
It's a strange thing coming home from traveling like that, because you have seen so much and you have changed so much,
Yes.
and you have been exposed to so many things, which makes you a more richer, spirit. And what I always say to people whenever they're going away backpacking or traveling for an extended period of time is, you're literally on your own, because when you come home, unfortunately, you will be so excited to tell your story, but people do not want to hear it. And it's a strange thing, because they have been living their life and going through their emotions. And by you coming home with all this information, it makes them feel like they're missing out or something, or that they should do it as well. But most people are not going to do it. And therefore, they just don't want to hear it. And it's sort of like a sort of self-preservation mechanism. It's not a negative thing. It's just that people, for some reason, switch off. So you could come home from, your daughter could be away for a year, driving around South America in a VW van, and she has just completely elevated herself to a new level. And when she comes home, her friends will want to talk about the fact that there's a new Zara downtown, because that's news to them. And the truth is, they're not so excited to hear about other people's travels or stories. And I always say to people, just be prepared for that, and just understand that they're not being rude or negative or anything. They're sort of just preserving their own self sort of sanity, and the fact that they do not have the courage to do what she has done.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's weird, because you think everyone will want to hear it, but the reality is very, very few people. Like almost, I would say 7 years of backpacking, almost no one wanted to hear any of my stories, during that time. And they would rather tell me about the fact that they had bought new Nike trainers than hear about the world record that I had broken or something like that. And I get it, that's okay. But it can be difficult for others coming home and thinking that they're being blanked.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope she's dealing with that part okay. And I hope she has people who are maybe interested in actually getting, out there as well. Because if you can find people that you can share your stories with in your trips, then it can help them and you, because you can get to share it in one way and relive it again, and you can educate them at the same time.
Yeah, I think she has good friends, and is surrounded by also family members, and they are very interested in what she was doing, and I think that's okay. But I totally agree what you said. Many people are just not interested in what she was doing.
Yeah. And it can be hard for the people coming back, particularly young girls. Because girls are so, they're excitable, and it's a beautiful, there's a beautiful essence, and they want to give and share and contribute and tell their friends and circle about this. And it's just like crickets going off in the background where no one wants to hear.
Yeah.
So I know that you've been living in Sweden for a few years, even though you're a Swiss girl who travels the world.
Yes.
Your
like
network
you.
is basic. Yeah, we both have a similar story in that regard. That we've been moving here on the Sharlik visa, and we've both sort of ended up in this society from which we don't really belong, but we've carved out a life and a living for ourselves here, despite that. So, what's it like for you to be sort of living in a world which your network is in a different location? Because more and more and more we're having people who are living as expats and as immigrants and refugees. And how do you deal with that?
Well, at the beginning, I was quite busy because I immigrated with my 3 daughters in 2011, and so I was very busy with the schools for the girls, and that everything works out perfect, and with the house and moving itself and so on. So I was quite occupied and couldn't think about my social life, or I never thought about my social life at the beginning. And plus, did I have my sambo, my boyfriend, which was from Sweden, and he lived here. So I didn't come just to Sweden without any reason. And but after a while, after a couple of years, I just realized that I really miss my friends, the whole social network, which was very big in Switzerland, but not here in Sweden. And as I had already an age which is not that so easy that you just meet people and making new friends or whatever. And I think it's not always very easy to live in another country. It's
Yeah. And
yeah, no,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
mean, it's just when I came here, I had so much. Decision was easy for me at this time, but I'm asking myself now, how could I do this? Just how could I, just leave everything behind me, because it's so important to have the friends and the family behind you. And to be honest, I feel alone sometimes. As a little bit.
Yeah.
How do you say in English? Ruthless or no? You. I don't know exactly. My roots.
Ruthless? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I
Or
feel a little
ruthless?
bit like
Yeah.
that. Mm.
Yeah, you've sort of been. Yeah, but the thing is, love is such a powerful drug. Actually, I mean, we can all do the most amazing, crazy decisions
Yeah.
when it's fueled by love. And but the thing is, I mean, what you have given is you've given your three daughters the opportunity to live in a new society and to see a new way of living, and then have
Yes, that's
something else to
great.
compare it to. So I mean, you've done a lot for your kids and for yourself just by uprooting them and moving them to this other city in this other country, which is actually a quite safe city, but it's a very particular city, Stockholm. And I think the people here are great, actually, but I think that you have to really carve out your own circle. And I can only imagine it must be so difficult if you arrive here with kids and you're so focused
Yes.
on just getting through
Yes.
life
Yes.
each day, working, schools, that because to build relationships takes time and it takes sort of marinating, with friends and relations. So then all of a sudden your kids get to a certain age where they're all growing up and going backpacking and moving around the world. And then you realize, wow, I haven't really invested my time in building my own network here,
And I'm
but
still working in Switzerland. This is another reason. It would be maybe much easier if I would work here in Sweden, but I'm always going back to Switzerland to work. So that's always traveling. And
yeah. But in fairness, if people want to know how I actually met you, it was probably
oh
5 years
yes,
ago. Whenever I got a text message from Johanna, and she says to me that the color run is on tonight, and she had seen an advertisement. Some pair of girls was selling their tickets and their outfits, which came with it, which was tutus, like a pink tutu with like high socks and stuff, and like
I
all the
still remember
colors and
you.
like face
Yes.
paints. She goes, "Do you want to buy them?" And I says, "We haven't. It's been years since I've run anything, but it was a nighttime color run." So he says, "You know what? Do it for the fun." And then she said that there's actually, I think it was a Facebook group or something where people were
Ex-
running low and you could meet
Yes.
up with them before, and you were one of the people. And so he says, even though we're not running alone, let's meet up with these other people and like have a gang of sort of cool people to run with. And of course, we met up with you, and you were so full of life and energy, and just a great human being. But of course, my plan of us all running together was out the window after I think 50 meters, because you were like, you just ran so fast ahead of me, and I was like, what the hell? And I actually, because I hadn't run for so many years, after 50 meters, I had to stop and start walking because I was out of breath. And of course, since that we've run
Yeah.
we've run the half marathon together. We've run 10K. We've done a lot of runs together. We've had dinners and ficas and everything else. But our actual relationship and friendship came from just you being a rock star person and reaching out
The
and saying he
color
wants to
run.
run with you. Yeah, but I mean, and this is the other thing about you. I didn't know you were 55 until you sent me the email. I thought you
Oh,
were my
thank you.
age. I thought you were like, I'm 41. I thought you were about 41. So when you told me your daughter was down backpacking, I thought she must be like 18 or something or whatever. And now you're telling me your daughter's 25. So it's like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's like that.
So, but you've always, is that how you keep yourself looking so young and fresh and full of youth? Is it exercise, or what is it? What's your
Well,
secret?
yeah, I don't smoke. I don't drink a lot. I do exercise a lot, almost. Yeah, I think as much as I can. Fresh air, good food, healthy food, and I mean all the points which you can read in the newspapers as well. But no, it's
Yeah, but the thing is, your life is very, in a, for a better word, unstructured. So you're eating on airplanes, and you're eating in different countries and different hotels and restaurants, like a few times a week
yeah.
at least. So it's not as easy for you as it is for most other people. So how do you sort of balance the travel and the keeping healthy and young? And,
Well, I think it's the opposite. We
balanced?
say when you work for as an airline, you say you flying keeps young. I don't know why, but it's like that because you are always flying away from the age. And
Yeah.
I think you are very open-minded when you are flying, and that's maybe something.
Yeah. Is that something you
Yeah,
would see amongst the crew?
I think so.
They're
Yeah,
more open to whatever.
yeah, that's my opinion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you? I'm a big believer in things like that. What you say, like flying keeps you young, and I think the more you say things to yourself, like an incantation or a mantra, the more true it becomes. So if all the air crews, or even if all the builders or all the pub owners say that, then it'll become true. Because I'm a big believer in just convincing yourself of the best that you can be, and seeing it come to fruition.
Yeah, that's possible, of course. Mm-hmm.
You know. And do you have any other things that you say like that?
No, not at the moment. No, I don't know.
Just that one. Just
yes,
keep
exactly.
flying keeps me young.
No, I don't think about that so often. Maybe it's also a reason. It's we can't hold on the age. We just have to take it as it is, and being positive. This is also exactly attitude makes
make
a
the
lot.
most of it.
Attitude. And,
Yeah. So for girls who were hoping to grow up and become air hostesses, the world is changing. Travel's changing. Is there any advice that you could give to those girls who had that same dream as you?
I mean, if you have a dream, you have to follow it, and go for it. Of course, it's different now, but it's still a great job, and it opens you so many possibilities in life, and not only to see other countries, other cultures, and live your dream.
Beautiful. And I think that's a good way to learn it. Leave it. And the one thing I'll add to that is, for all the air hostesses who flying for Swiss Air and all the others around the world who have served me and served millions of other people every day, just massive thank you for the hard work you do. I know passengers don't always give you the gratitude to your face that you deserve for the great work you put in, but we really, when we think about it, we really appreciate the hard work that people like you, Susanne, do, and the great leadership that you give us. And the most important thing is that you get us to our destination and home safe. And it's so rare that anything happens that again, that all comes down to you guys. And the most important thing is this: whenever you guys do your job well, we don't notice. But whenever you don't do your job well, chaos can happen. So I think every time we get on a plane from now on, always remember the fact that we got over and back safe. It's thanks to people like Susanne and all the amazing air hostesses who have been working so hard to make it a reality for us.
Thank you very much for this.
So thanks for that. Yeah, and I hope to see you in September at the Stockholm
Yes,
Marathon, if not
exactly.
the half marathon.
I think I go for the half marathon.
Yeah, and I hope to see you in the
I
coming
hope so
weeks for a
too,
fika and a
Patrick.
catch up. And yeah, and you know, I'm always full support. Even though I don't see you too often, you're always welcome to reach out and
All right,
come catch
I
up.
will. Thank you so much
All
for
right
this
then,
call,
darling.
for this
Thank,
talk. Danke auch, danke
Dankeschön,
gleichfalls.
Dankeschön. Everything, ik this, all them German words that I know, and
God bless
have a
you.
good
Bye
one,
bye.
darling.
Thank you,
God bless.
Patrick.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.